Hey, welcome back to the JK Moto Entertainment channel. Welcome back once again to Stable B, our favorite place. Today we're going to be working on the Yamaha R6 again. That's our 2008 Yamaha R6. We finished up the cooling in the last part, and it stays cool now, which is great. Now we got to figure out the electrical issue, which was like the whole actual reason I got it in the first place. But there were other things that needed to be done, and the friend, owner of the bike wanted done, so we got this done also. Now that those are done, we're gonna do the electrical. So I'll be honest, I did a little bit of this troubleshooting before we got here, because today we're going to install the part that we need to, but we're going to walk through what the troubleshooting was, how we did it, and the conclusion we came to, and then we'll put this new Yamaha, oh, not on that side, right there, genuine parts and accessories part. This is a new stator, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, before we get to that, go ahead and please click the subscribe button down below, throw a like on the video if you have any questions, comments, or you own one of these bikes, and you know more than I do, please let me know down in the comment section. I want to hear about it so I can learn more, and so that everyone else watching this video can also maybe learn a little bit. And without further ado, I think we'll go ahead and get into it, and we'll get this bike hopefully up and running, and hopefully the battery stays charging. And then at that point, I'm gonna put it all back together, and then we'll do a final reveal video after this. So stick around. So if you don't know anything about a motorcycle electrical system, there's like three major parts, and that's really about it. You have where it all starts, down here in the engine, what we call a stator, which generates three-phase AC electrical power, which is why you can see these three wires right here. That is just literally, you've got a magnet connected to the rotor, which is connected to the drive shaft of the bike, so as it spins, it's creating electricity right there. Nice and simple. If you don't know about that, I'm not going to teach you electrical theory because I'm not an electrical theory person type of guy. But that happens in there. I could actually probably teach you quite a bit. Anyway, then, because unfortunately, batteries only work with DC power, we can't use this AC power that we just generated. Why do we generate AC instead of DC? Well, it's easier and parts are cheaper and everything else. So we get this AC. We need it in the battery to get DC because our spark plugs are going to run on DC, and then we also want to be able to like have electricity to restart the bike, I don't know, tomorrow or whenever we want to. So we got to get it to DC somehow, and that's where this little guy comes in. This is called your Regulator Rectifier. So it's going to regulate that AC into DC power. Sorry, it's going to rectify it from AC to DC, and then it's going to regulate it to be the right voltage so the battery's constantly getting the right voltage. And that is the part that we have to replace today because we did a little bit of troubleshooting while this thing was running. When I started up, I was using my multimeter here, and we did a few different tests. I did it with a shutdown. I tested the resistance, so your ohm reading, but your resistance across all three different contacts of the stator. And then with the bike running, I got the battery fully charged. I was able to run the bike on just the battery and unplug the stator and then watch the voltage output change up and down as I was revving the bike and whatever else. And it produced a nice constant voltage continuously. There were no issues, but when you go to plug it back in, the battery voltage is just slowly dropping over time. So hopefully you guys were able to see that. Just something to note, if you get one of these nice little cheap multimeters, very important that you're looking at the right thing at the right time. So keep in mind, down here you produce AC. So if you're reading the voltage down there, you need to be reading AC voltage. Up here the battery, and at the output of the regulator rectifier somewhere, I don't know exactly which cores, I guess it would be the black and the red would be your two DC output, the three white is the AC input. That's going to be DC. So just keep that in mind, otherwise you'll get some real wonky numbers and possibly break your multimeter. Probably not, but that's that. So anyway, like I said, the previous owner of this bike, not the guy that currently owns it, that was talking to me, but had told the current owner that he replaced the stator recently. So, you know, we don't always believe those things, but maybe. And then two, the fact that we were able to do the troubleshooting and find out that it was in fact producing a great AC current. All the ohm readings or the resistance readings across it looked great. There weren't any weird grounds going on. Led me to believe it isn't just in fact a regulator rectifier. And on older bikes especially, these are parts that just they do burn out over time. They're just this giant freaking heat soak. And so internally, they can get a little beat up. So we're gonna go ahead and replace this today, and then we'll start the bike back up and see how everything's doing and see if the battery is in fact recharging. And then after that, we're basically done. We can put the thing back together and go give it back to the owner and he'll enjoy it. So we'll go ahead and get this replaced. So we picked up this genuine Yamaha part and accessory, otherwise known as your stator, or sorry, jeez. I'm gonna get these so mixed up tonight, and it's gonna be all over the place, or not tonight necessarily, but in this video. But this is an OEM. Got it from Partzilla. There's a few different websites you can buy things like that from. You have Partzilla, you got Babbitt's online. motorsport.com. You can get all your OEM stuff. They're all pretty good. I've had relatively good experiences with all of them, but if we look at that compared to the old one, I wonder if that old one is actually an aftermarket, which might be why it went bad, but they look pretty similar. So we're gonna go ahead and unplug, replug, and then we'll get this bolted up here. Just so you guys can see a little more up close and personal, like we said, we had our 3 wires coming out of our stator over here, so that's gonna be each phase of your AC branch coming out. That's gonna come into this regulator rectifier in these 3 white wires, nice and easy to follow, and then come right back out as a simple positive negative DC current. Nice and simple, and you could honestly follow that straight over to your battery. It goes somewhere through this portion of the bike, but there's your positive, there's your negative, there's your battery power. So we're gonna go ahead and get this bolted up. Nice 2 little Allen nuts right here. Sits in a great spot. Nice part is, it's got a little kind of shelf it sits on. It's actually not too difficult. You don't have to sit there and hold it super crazy, I say, as I find out I have to hold it kind of crazy. You know, you ever seen them videos of people talking about how mechanics can get their hands in tight places and whatever? I don't think that auto mechanics have any idea what it's like trying to work on motorcycles. And this is like a nice open spot with the fairing off of here and everything. And sometimes you're up under a gas tank. I don't have any room for anything. I don't know why it's so hard. There we go. Tightened up, installed. I mean, this is also pretty important that they sit up here. You actually get, usually your fairings are built specifically to send some good heat flow specifically to those spots. So you'll always see, if you want to take a look at the jixer over here, once again, it's right there where you can get some good airflow through underneath. And then the Aprilia, it's the same story, where it lives right here behind this fairing, where you can get some good airflow underneath. So if you're ever gonna start your bike in your garage or your stable or your fort shop, whatever it might be, make sure you open the door. So we got the door open for us because we're gonna start it and we'll be running it for quite a while. You know, if you're gonna like short your, no, official recommendation, just always have the door open, always have some good ventilation so you don't get exhaust fumes. Anyway, we got our multimeter here. I'm gonna go ahead and set this to DC volts, and I'm gonna go to 20 because this should be a 12 volt circuit. So we're gonna go down to 20. Look at that, it reads 0. That's awesome. That means there's no stray random voltage in the air, which is great. I don't know why it's clicking negative. Now I'm gonna check this just to get me a starting number before we even start the bike. I'm gonna set this right here and literally just go in positive, negative. I got 12.44 volts. Sweet. So there's enough juice to get the bike started. And I was checking beforehand because I know I ran it on just the battery last time when I was doing some troubleshooting. So I wanted to make sure I had a starting point to see, is this gonna charge it? What are we gonna be at? What we're looking for here is an initial, it's gonna jump up and it should just ride at whatever voltage the stator's putting out. And then I'm gonna not have the camera on for a while. We're gonna let the bike run for 5 to 10 minutes, warm up and check and make sure that that voltage is staying steady while the bike is running. So we'll go ahead and get it started. Jump up to 14, which is great, and it's still going up, which is great. We also don't want to see it really ever go over 15. That's part of that regulator, part of the regulator rectifier, is that it rectifies the AC and it regulates it, but it is in fact charging the battery, so it's looking good. Everything's steady right there at that 14, just over. Your second 2 numbers really only care about, like, you know, 14 point, maybe even 1 decimal. I don't give, like, it doesn't matter that much. But we're gonna go ahead and let the bike warm up for a little bit. I'm gonna keep an eye on this, but I don't think you guys really need to sit here and watch that. So we'll check in here in a few minutes once the bike's warmed up. That's good. All right, this thing's pretty warmed up. We're sitting at like 186. The other nice thing is I do want to make sure this thing's not overheating again. It's been running here for a few minutes, which is great. And we've got a great temperature. Give her some revs. She likes to pop. Very poppy. I love it. Anyway, We're gonna go ahead and check on this battery again. I've been checking on it periodically and it's looking phenomenal. It was. That's not as phenomenal. But it's not going down. Great, here we go. Seven, 8. It's just staying right at 7.7. That's really weird. Why is it doing that? Alright, I'm going to try and stick this in here. At least the negative here. See if I can't get you guys some revs. She should go up with revs a little bit, maybe. Sitting so perfectly at 14 until I revved it. What is going on here? Well, it's steady. Technically, that's still an okay number. And it's not dropping. That's what's important. We'll ride it around for a little bit probably after I get the fairings back on, and we'll report in the next episode, but we're gonna leave it at that. So now we'll take a look without any load on it. Yeah, it immediately dropped back up. Jumped back up, not dropped back up. 12.19. So, put this away. I'm gonna have to do some quick research and figure out, I don't remember exactly what voltage range you want, but there are ranges that are okay and others that are not. The big thing is that you don't want to see your battery voltage just slowly dropping. So what we saw here is once that thing was steady up to temperature, the voltage did come down a little bit. I'm not exactly sure why, and that could just be simply because there's a higher temperature, and so you're getting a little bit different readings. They're not necessarily accurate. We'll see. But what was important is that we saw a very, very steady number in there, and it only went up once the bike was revved, and then it came back down a little bit once the bike was not revved, and it went right back to steady, and it never dropped off. So before I replaced the regulator rectifier, what I had seen going on in this bike while it was running and up at temperature was a very slow but steady drop in battery voltage. So I put my 2 on there, and I just watched it go 10.77, 10.75, 10.71, 10.67, 10.65, 10.59, 10.57. And you know, there's a little bit of up and down, but it was consistently over the span of a few minutes just going down, 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 down. So to see that be positive, accurate, within range, and stay steady, I'm gonna say we went ahead and fixed the problem. So that's where we're gonna wrap up the episode today. And then behind the scenes, really, I'm gonna put this thing back together and we'll do a closeout episode next week. So once again, subscribe to the channel and you can just stick around for the closeout episode. But we're gonna get this all buttoned up and give them back to the owner. And I've got a new kickstand. Someone mentioned, comment on the kickstand. The kickstand looked like it was ground off. We got a new kickstand that'll be put on. All the fairings will be put on. Got a nice fancy new gas cap. So I'll kind of talk about some of those things and we'll close out with everything that we did do to the bike in the next week's video. But that's all we got for today. If you're having electrical issues, check your stator, check your regulator rectifier, and then check your battery. You do still have to have a good battery too, but we did know that this was a brand new one, so it wasn't that. But those are really the only 3 electrical issues you could have on a motorcycle, at least as far as like main big electrical issues. Check for random grounds, you're good to go. So if you guys have any questions or any comments for me or any suggestions, please let me know. Throw them down in the comments below, or as always, you can reach out on Instagram and or Facebook at JKMoto Entertainment. I'll always answer anyone that reaches out. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.